This is not a drill. I mean, the ultimate diamond hands just blinked.
Yeah, the 8K form just dropped. It's not clickbait. It's not some fake rumor on X. MicroStrategy actually just sold Bitcoin.
And this right here is exactly why I get terrified when I hear about couples putting their kids' college fund into crypto. Because the narrative is always, hold forever, right?
Right, never sell, irrelevant of the price.
Exactly. But when the guy who practically invented the never sell rule suddenly cashes out, yeah, we need to talk about this. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Frank. Welcome to Talk and Wonder. We create easy-to-understand whiteboard animations covering family finance, investing, passive income, and debt management.
And keeping your family's money actually safe. Our goal is to break down complex financial topics, help you avoid traps, and build wealth together. But just a quick reminder up front, we are not financial advisors. This isn't financial advice. Please do your own research.
Exactly. If you want to secure your future with real strategies, not casino bets, you are exactly in the right place. So, let's unpack this 8K form because, well, it's a massive signal to the market. For those who don't know, an 8K is basically a required report companies file with the SEC to announce major events, things shareholders absolutely need to know.
Like dumping the asset you swore you'd never dump?
Pretty much. They officially sold 32 Bitcoin, and they also, wait, let me look at the exact wording. Yeah, they raised some cash through other means as well.
Okay, so 32 Bitcoin, which in the grand scheme of things is what?
It's around, I think the exact number was around $2.5 million. They sold it at roughly $76,000 per coin.
Okay, hold on. $2.5 million. I mean, for a regular family, that's generational wealth. But for a massive corporation like MicroStrategy, that's
Pocket change, literally. They have over 700,000 Bitcoin, right? So this sale is like I think it's 0.0004% of their holdings.
Frank, stop. 0.0004%?
Yeah, it's mathematically nothing.
Then why did the entire market freak out? Because I looked at the charts this morning and Bitcoin had tanked under $72,000. Big red candles everywhere. If it's just pocket change, why the absolute panic?
Because it breaks the illusion. Look, the whole bullish narrative was built on the idea that Saylor was an infinite buyer. During the bull market, they were buying tens of thousands of Bitcoin a week using common stock sales, these fancy dividend-paying preferred stocks, just vacuuming up Bitcoin nonstop.
Right, so he was like the ultimate safety net for the whole market, the guy who would never let it fall.
Exactly. And now, out of nowhere, he's signaling that actually he might want some cash. And that word right there is cash, is what we really need to dig into. Because when you look at why they actually did this, you realize it's not about the 32 Bitcoin itself.
Right, because 32 out of 700,000 it's literally a rounding error.
Exactly. It's the sentiment behind it. The math didn't push the price down to 72 grand. Selling $2.5 million in a $1 trillion market does nothing. It's the news. It's the psychological shock that, wait a minute, the infinite buyer actually has a sell button?
Which is wild to me. Think about how fragile that is. Imagine if we lived in a normal neighborhood, right? And our neighbor, let's call him Bob, decides to sell his house. Does the value of our house suddenly drop by 10% the very next morning just because Bob packed up his minivan?
Well, if Bob was the only guy buying houses in the neighborhood for the last 4 years, maybe.
Okay, fair point. But you know what I mean. Traditional real estate or even, regular blue chip stocks, they have underlying real-world value. They aren't held together by, by just vibes.
Vibes. Yeah, and that's the danger. That is exactly the danger for regular families. You are literally betting your kid's future on internet sentiment. Look at the data today. There's some back and forth globally, US, Iran. Traditional markets are kind of mixed, but this microscopic MTSR sale is what caused the red candles.
So did they sell because they had to? Like, are they struggling? Because 2.5 million sounds like they just needed to cover some immediate bills.
No, of course not. Like we said, they have endless Bitcoin. And honestly, the company is in a fantastic spot compared to the last bear market. Back in 2022, MTSR stock was sitting at like 18 bucks. Now, even with this dip, they're still up 8x, maybe 9x over the last 4 years.
Okay, so they aren't panicking, they aren't going broke.
Not at all. They've been through a much worse bear market last cycle and survived.
Then why hit the sell button at all? If you don't need the money and it wrecks the market sentiment, why do it?
Because they want flexibility.
Flexibility. Okay, corporate translation, please.
Right. They've actually signaled this before. They want to experiment with selling Bitcoin to give themselves the option to do whatever is mathematically best for the company at any given time. If they want to sell 10,000 Bitcoin later, they wouldn't just dump it all at once. They're basically testing the waters, signaling to the market, hey, we are willing to sell.
See, when a massive corporation says flexibility, what I hear is we need to make sure we have an exit strategy. And Frank, if a billionaire institutional whale needs an exit strategy, why on earth are regular families acting like they don't?
Well, that's exactly the trap. And here's where the math gets really interesting for a household versus a corporation. A massive company uses flexibility to manipulate their balance sheet or take advantage of market dips.
Right, they can play the game.
Exactly. But a family? A family needs flexibility to, pay for a broken water heater or medical bills. And that brings us to the actual physical cash side of this 8K form. Because, well, the 8K form also mentioned they raised some cash through other means, right? They sold some common shares too, and they are keeping that in cash.
Real cash, like US dollars.
Exactly. Fiat, the supposed enemy of crypto, right? But here's the thing. They have these new dividend-paying stocks now. Wait, let me back up. It's this new perpetual preferred stock. It pays a nice dividend, which allows them to acquire more Bitcoin much faster.
Okay.
But to pay a dividend, you need...
Cash. You need actual cash.
Right, they need a massive cash pile just to pay out these dividends so that people feel confident buying the stock.
Oh, the irony is it's too good. The biggest champion of fiat is dead has to liquidate his digital gold to get actual dollars just to keep the investors happy.
Yeah, it's all math. Saylor's team is looking at this and thinking, okay, if the price of MSTR stock gets low enough, let's say they have $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, just to make the math easy. But their share price drops and the total stock is only worth, say, 800 million. In that scenario, it makes perfect financial sense to sell some Bitcoin and go buy back their own common shares.
Right, they are constantly rebalancing.
Exactly, and vice versa. If their stock is overvalued, they sell shares to buy more Bitcoin. They are playing an arbitrage game.
And Frank, this is exactly where everyday investors get completely slaughtered, because MicroStrategy is doing this to optimize a multi-billion-dollar balance sheet. But families don't get to play arbitrage. When our roof started leaking last winter.
Oh man, don't remind me. That was what, 12 grand?
Something like that. But the roofer didn't cake Bitcoin, Frank. We needed $12,000. Now, imagine if our savings were in Bitcoin and the roof leaks on the exact same day Michael Saylor decides to experiment with flexibility.
You're forced to sell at a loss.
Exactly. We'd be forced to liquidate a highly volatile asset just to cover a mandatory monthly expense. And suddenly, your 12 grand is only worth 9 grand. You didn't lose money because the technology failed. You lost money because...
Because cash is reality. Cash flow is reality. And the whales, the institutional players, they know this. They aren't treating this like a religion anymore. For them, it's a spreadsheet. If they can sell a little bit, cause a 2% dip, and then buy back $100 million worth of Bitcoin for cheaper, they just saved themselves $20 million right there.
Which is brilliant if you're a billionaire, but absolutely terrifying if you're just a guy trying to save for a down payment. And honestly, it's not just Saylor selling, right? Because I saw the ETF numbers this week, and the amount of money bleeding out of those funds is... Because the amount of money bleeding out of those funds is just staggering.
It is. We are looking at Well, the numbers from last week showed 9 consecutive days of outflows from the Bitcoin ETFs.
9 straight days?
9. And the volume is wild. In just one single day, $733 million left the funds. Just gone.
Okay, I need a second. Frank, stop. 733 million in one day?
Yeah. Now, to be fair, if you look at the chart over the last 9 or 10 trading days, Bitcoin is down, but it hasn't, cratered into oblivion. It's not going to zero. But the sentiment is dragging everything else down with it. Even related stocks, like STRC, was falling hard today, dropping well below 99 bucks.
But see, that's exactly my point. If you are a 25-year-old day trader with zero dependence and money to burn, fine, go play the volatility game. But if you have a mortgage, if you have a spouse, if you have kids, you cannot strap your family's peace of mind to a roller coaster that sheds $700 million in 24 hours just because Wall Street woke up in a bad mood.
Exactly. And I think that's the part people fundamentally misunderstood about these ETFs. When Wall Street got involved, all the crypto bros cheered. They thought, oh great, institutional adoption, this means stability.
Right, because Wall Street is famous for caring about regular people?
Exactly. All it really meant was that the biggest, most ruthless sharks in the world just entered your little swimming pool. And they don't care about your diamond hands or your Reddit memes. For them, it's about sweeping the lows. They deliberately trigger stop losses. They shake out the retail investors, which means regular families panicking and selling at a loss, and then the institutions buy back in for cheaper.
It's literally a casino, but the house can see your cards.
That is actually a perfect way to put it. It's a rigged game. And honestly, I've said this before, but I think the market is going further down. We'll probably do what we've done in past bear markets, drift down further toward the end of the year, shake more people out, and eventually find a bottom. But the ride is brutal.
And while the chart is drifting down, real life is still happening. Like the electric bill doesn't care if we're in a bear market. Inflation at the grocery store doesn't pause because Bitcoin is sweeping the lows.
Right.
Which makes me wonder, how do these families actually sleep at night, knowing that the money they might need next month could just evaporate while they're sleeping? They don't, Lynn. That's the dirty little secret of the crypto bros. They literally don't sleep. They are waking up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat to check their phones because their financial foundation is built on sand.
And that right there is the core of it. Like, if you take anything away from this whole Saylor situation, it's that your family's financial house needs to be built on rock, not on, what did you call it, sentiment-driven sand.
Exactly. Building on rock means your money works for you in the real world. It means having an actual emergency fund in a high-yield savings account. I know, it's boring. It doesn't make for good Twitter memes.
Yeah, I made 4.5% APY this year isn't exactly going to go viral.
But it pays the roofer. It pays the orthodontist when your kid suddenly needs braces. Look, if you want to trade stocks, if you want to take a small, speculative position, fine. The original video mentioned platforms like Ubit. And actually, I have a small short position on Bitcoin myself right now, which is
Wait, you're shorting it?
just a tiny amount, because I saw the indicators that we'd probably go down. But that's exactly the point. It's play money. If that goes to zero, our life doesn't change. It's not our mortgage payment. It's not the kids' college fund.
Exactly. There is a massive concrete wall between trading for fun and family wealth planning. And I think the trap is that people blend the two. They see a billionaire taking a calculated, highly hedged risk, and they think, I should bet my retirement on this.
Right, because when Saylor's bet goes wrong, he just restructures the corporate debt, he issues more shares. When a regular guy's bet goes wrong,
Softly, serious tone. He has to sit down at the kitchen table and tell his wife they can't afford the down payment on the house anymore. And Frank, that is a conversation no one should ever have to have.
yeah, it's devastating, which is why our philosophy here is all about building an anti-fragile portfolio. You need assets that actually produce value, like businesses, real estate, index funds, things that don't just rely on the next guy being willing to pay more for a digital token.
Because at the end of the day, when the market crashes and the ETFs are bleeding hundreds of millions of dollars, the only thing that actually protects your family is having a system, a boring, predictable, bulletproof system.
Exactly. But that actually brings up a really interesting problem because even if you avoid crypto entirely and you do the responsible thing, most families still keep their safe money in completely the wrong places. Like if you're just leaving your savings in a traditional checking account right now.
Oh gosh, don't even get me started on the big banks. You're basically losing money to inflation every single day. So if crypto is out and the big traditional banks are practically stealing from us, how do we actually structure that bulletproof cash reserve? Like what's the actual math on?